Hello everybody and welcome to another video. It's Andy here from AIM Media Games. Now in this video it's been a bit delayed, to be honest. I was supposed to be doing a tutorial on how to set this up, but it's been put off due to working on a video game of our own and just not having enough time to kind of sit down and go over everything in detail and set it all up. So what you got here in front of me is a physics-based wind chime. So if I go in to the game, we can see here that I've added in a wind effect, and it plays audio, and it all moves like it's kind of being blown by the wind, right? So it's acting kind of like a real life or real world wind chime. Now, it is quite complicated to set up, but I'll try and simplify it as much as possible. But the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to create the wind chime model, because there's no point me showing you how to set something up in Unreal Engine if you don't really have these models to use, right? So we could just model something in Unreal, but let's do it in Blender. So download Blender if you haven't got it. Better late than never to learn now. So open up Blender and you'll be greeted with a screen that kind of looks like this, which is the poor default cube that gets destroyed, deleted, vaporized, turned into something else. So we're going to get rid of our camera and our light, and from there we're going to delete our cube. I'm sorry, but we don't need him. I know it feels bad, but it is what it is. So we're going to go with, let's get screencast keys on first. I'm not very organized, I apologize. I should have had all this ready. But life is life, and I don't just sit and record videos. So we're going to get screencast keys on here so you can see the keys that I'm pressing. And we're going to go Shift A, which will bring up our add menu. This is where we can add meshes in, curves, surfaces, metaballs, text, point clouds, volumes, grease pencil, etc, etc. So Shift A, mesh, and then we're going to go with, let's do a cylinder. Now this is a mega cylinder right now. This is pretty big, right? And so what we can do, we go to edit, go to preferences, and then type in rig, and you want to enable the rigify add-on. Reason being is if we press Shift A again and we go to armature, rigify, meta rigs, and add a human, we can get kind of a general idea now of how big that cylinder is. So these would be some behemoth wind chimes. You'd probably lose an eardrum, right? Okay, so or it just wouldn't move. So we're going to shrink this down to a more kind of manageable real world scale size. So let's bring all that down. I'd say that's about right, about that size. Maybe a little bit smaller, about there. And then we can get rid of this guy. Press 7 to go top down view. We're going to move it to here, like so. And in fact, no, we're not going to move it to there. We're going to move it to about, hold control and drag to about there. Now do control A, set rotation and scale. We're going to change our 3D, our pivot point to our 3D cursor, and then we're going to do Shift D, R, and rotate by, let's say, what, 45 degrees or more. Let's do a little bit more than 45. So R, let's delete that one actually. So Shift D, R, and then we'll go, let's say, there, and then Shift R. There we go. So we now have, what, 6 cylinders, and each one of these needs to be a different tone. So, well, we're not going to add that now, but yeah, each one of these will be a different tone once we get round to it. So we can delete these caps. So let's select them all, and we can delete those. We'll do the same for the bottom pieces, we're going to add a modifier. Let's do shade smooth first. So add a modifier to this. We're going to go over to this little kind of spanner symbol, add modifier, and then do generate, and then we're going to do a solidify. Let's go to the top. You can see here it's a little bit too thick, so we can hold shift and drag. So something kind of like that. So about 0.00, and we'll do 0.005. And now the shading is off, which is fine. We'll correct that in a second. The next thing we'll do is we're going to select all of these, making sure that the last one that we select is this, and we're going to do Control L, and we're going to do copy modifiers. So now all of these have inherited the modifier from this one, which makes it a little bit easier. And we can apply. Let's do apply this one. Apply that one. Control A, Control A, Control A, Control A. Okay, so all of these have had the modifiers on. Let's select all of these. Select this one. So Alt and Shift click. Oops. Just like so. And then we'll do the same on the bottom. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but if it's more than an hour, I'll split the video in 2 parts. But I'll try and be as quick as I can. Now we're going to do Control B. I'm going to give this a little bevel, just like so, and that should fix that shading issue that we had. Okay, so apart from this one, I have to go back and do that again because this one didn't get caught. I missed it. There we go. Just like that. So now we have all of our cylinders. We can bring each one of these down a tiny bit. So let's go. In fact, we'll just go underneath it. So G, Z, and then bring that down. Yeah, G, Z, down, G, Z, down. Can we do that by? Let's have a quick look and see. So we're currently at what? Minus. There it is, -1. So if I set all these to 0, there we go. Hold Alt and click, and it will do the action for all selected objects. So if you hold Alt and click here and then type 10, it will move all of them. If you just click and press 1, it'll only move the highlighted object. So, okay, so what we want to do is we're going to go, let's see what's that like, 0.9. Okay, so let's set this one to, in fact, we should be able to just do it this way. Trying to think of the easiest way to do it. That's not too overcomplicated. So if we go down and hold Control and we snap to about there, and then this one can snap to there, this one can snap to there, this one can snap to, let's have a look at the other side. So Control and numpad 1 to there, and this one can snap to there. Okay. We now have all of those. So if we select all of these, bring them up, there we go. Now we have our tubes for our wind chime. Select them, select all, and see if we can shrink these down a bit, or just bring them out slightly. This should be okay actually. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so with that piece done, the next piece that we're going to do is going to be our little, it's kind of the wind catcher, isn't it? The little thing that kind of catches by the wind and it pulls it out. So this piece, the little, I don't know, what would you even call that, like a little panel thing? Flap? I don't know. So to make that one, simple, just add a plane. RX90, there we go. Bring that all the way down. Set pivot point to individual origins, G and Z. Bring that down, scale it down, and then just bevel these two corners. So let's apply rotation scale, and then we'll bevel these, Control Shift P, up on the mouse wheel slightly, and then shrink these. Literally, that's fine. And then let's make this a little bit larger. I'm going to add a rim in the middle, make selection to cursor, and then select origin to 3D cursor. And then what we want to do is do Shift and C, Shift S, selection to cursor. Now it's centralized, G and Z, and move that down. So about there. Then the next piece we want to make, we actually might have to bring this out a little tiny bit. We need the chime part, the one that connects the one that tones or hits, sorry, the like the hammer. So to do that, I'm going to add. I think we might have to move these out slightly. Just like this. There we go. Yep. And then we're gonna add a piece, just a little tiny disc shape. Let me just have a quick drink. One second, let me sort the dog out. The dog wants me. He wanted a drink. Okay, so let's add in a. Don't worry, I haven't got a shock collar on the dog. I'm not you know who. So cylinder, let's scale that down, and we'll go and shrink it, S and Z, about there. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Now what we can do is if we select both of these and then do I to inset and then select this rim, one, right click, merge at center, select this one, press 1 for vertice selection, merge at center, select this edge and this edge, Control B to bevel, and then let's shrink that down a little bit. Actually, let me just go back a few steps, shrink that down now, and then bevel. That's it. Okay, shade smooth. Yep, that's fine. And then the next piece that we want to make would be the part where the hanger, or like where all the strings connect to. So what we can do for that is select the one we just created, Shift D to duplicate, bring that up, place it about here, and then scale that out. Let's go top down view because we want it to be slightly larger than the tubes, just like so. So now we have all of the pieces of a wind chime. I'm gonna make that one a little bit smaller, and then that should be fine, or bigger actually. Let's Control 7. Yeah, about there. That should do. Okay, so origin to geometry. That's good. And then we want to export this. So obviously you'd need to, well, it isn't obvious if you're new and you don't know what you're doing. You'd need to, in reality, unwrap this. You can unwrap using UV atlases in Unreal Engine. It's not always as effective, but it's for the material that's going on these, like wood and metal, it would be perfectly fine to do so. So I'm not going to waste time sitting here and adding seams. Some people might want me to do that, but unfortunately there's plenty of videos I've done where I've shown how to unwrap things. So with the model created, we're going to go to File. Let's quickly check to make sure everything, all the normal faces are in the right direction, which they are. And then we're going to go to File, Export, FBX. We're going to go to Desktop, FBX, and we're going to go with Wind Chimes Tutorial. And then we go to Selected Objects Only. Make sure they're all selected. Geometry, normals to face smoothing. If you don't change it to smoothing face, when you import it into Unreal, you might get smoothing faces can't be found error, which is not an issue, but it can sometimes cause texture problems. So with that done, I'm going to click Export. I'm going to go into Unreal. I'm going to create a folder. I'm just going to call this one Tutorial Wind Chime, so I know what it is. I'm going to open this up, go to Import, and I'm going to go and get our wind chime. Click Import, and now we have all of our models here, which is perfect for us. Oh, okay, so with that done, we need to create a blueprint. So I'm going to go Blueprint Class, Actor, and then we're going to name this. This is going to be Wind Chimes Tutorial. Just put V1 just in case I mess up. I'm going to open that up, and let me just double check I'm recording. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, okay, so it's been 17 minutes. So in here, what we want to do is get all of our models and drag and drop. Now, because we set it up in Blender, they're all in the correct positions, and they are all ready to be turned into a wind chime. So we need an anchor. So for that, I'm just going to add it in a block, a cube. We're going to scale this down. This is going to be our anchor point for where this is going to be connected to, so it doesn't fall through the world. And that can be any size that you like. So I'm going to start naming things just to make it a little bit easier. So this right here is my anchor. This right here is my base. And then I'm going to call this something that's probably going to trigger people, but I'm going to call it a flap. And I'm not a professional wind chime maker. I don't know what it's called. And this one is going to be, we're going to call it the hammer. Just the thing that hits to make the sounds. Okay, I'm starting with this one. This is going to be chime _1. We're going to copy that because we're going to go around clockwise. I'm going to paste, and then we're going to get an error. I'm going to change that to a 2. I'm going to do the same again. Paste, error, change that to 3. Paste, error, change that to 4. And again, paste, I'm going to get an error, change that to 5. And the last one, we're going to change this to what is it, 6. Yep. So now that we have that done, you can notice over here we've got the hammer, the base, 6 chimes, the anchor, and the flap at the bottom. So it makes things a little bit easier when adding in all of your constraints. Now what we want to do is enable, so hold Control and select. We're going to enable physics on all of these. Simulate physics, yes, yes. Compile, and we're going to drag this in and just test that all of the components fall. Perfect. There you go, we have a successful broken wind chime. That's thanks for watching. I'm only messing. So wind chimes, not that one, that's my old one. So in here now, what we want to do is start to add in our physics constraints. Now this can be a little bit more complicated and get a little bit confusing, and when you've got lots of constraints all in the same place, it can get a little bit odd. To find the right word, I'm not too sure. So we'll start with this one, and for this one we will add in a physics constraint. So let's go physics constraint, and let's move. I'm going to name this one to our anchor to base physics constraint, and then I'm going to bring that up, and that's going to go here. No, that's going to go here. Yes, that's it. And this one is going to be, so with a constraint you've got two ends. You've got the stationary end, which is where it will swing from, and then you've got the point of contact where the swing, or kind of the pivot point, or the part of that physics constraint where it will move from. So imagine you're holding a piece of string, and on the bottom of the string you've got a weight, and when you push the weight, the pivot point is at the top of the string where the anchor is, and like a pendulum effect. So we're going to add in a physics constraint now, which is going to act like our string, or an invisible string. So down here in component name, we have, so let's do, what was it called, anchor, red, and we want base, blue. So now if we go to here, we can see simulate physics off. So if we could compile and we simulate, you can see that these move, but this doesn't. But see, there we go. Okay, so that one's done. Now you just got to do that 6 more times. I should just end the tutorial here and let you all learn yourselves, but I'll be nice and I'll carry on. So okay, so for this one, now that we've done that, we need to make another, and this is going to be, so let's copy and paste, and let's move this down, and that's going to go here. And it's going to go, let's do, yeah, that's centered, and this one's going to go to our hammer. So we've got base, and we want to swap these, and that's going to be hammer. So if we do compile and then simulate, you can see if I move this, we've now got, ignore the error, we've now got the anchor point where it pivots from. We've got the first pendulum effect, and then we've got the second pendulum effect. So I'll just show you that again. We can see down here, and that's working perfectly fine. Now there are settings that you can change, just, you know, like how much resistance, air friction, movement. You've got things like swing resistance. You've got things like lock-in axis, so you don't want it to move on a specific like X, Y, or Z. You don't want it to be able to move in a certain direction. You can change that. You can also change like the angle, like a limited value. So if you only want it to be able to move 45 degrees, then it will only swing 45 degrees. It can't go beyond that point. So there is a lot of customization that you can do this. It will work for chains as well. So if you want to use this method for chains, it's a little bit more complicated with the chains, because you have to make sure that you get, let's see if I can show you, you have to make sure that you get the pivot points in the correct spots in order for it to work, and then this just becomes the anchor. So let's go back to what we were doing and not get too sidetracked. Okay, so now we have to do this 6 times with each one of them different names. So I'm going to go with this, so we're going to copy and paste. We're going to move this over to about here, there maybe. It doesn't have to be exact, but it helps the closer you can get it. So let's copy the name of this one. Wait, there we go. And then we're going to go with our, so we've got anchor to base, which is this one. We've got anchor to hammer. Let's change that one. And then we've got anchor to Chime 6. Okay. And then we need to click on this one. I know this is really tedious and very boring, so if you want to tune out, feel free to do so. If this is enough for you to kind of crack on and get on with it yourself, you don't have to watch the full video. Just, I'd appreciate a like, at least a share, and maybe a subscribe. That would be a nice thing to do. So with this one now, we're going to select, I think it was this one, yep. We'll make sure it's this one, and then in the where it says component name, we want to change that to Chime 6, and then you can see here that it's now got our Chime 6, and that's now connected. So again, if we go to simulate, we have the chime, and if we move this, you can see that it's now working. So you're just going to repeat this step for each one of these, and what I might do is just crack on with this and then cut back to a later part in the video, just so you're not watching me do the same thing over and over again. Okay, yeah, I might do that actually. So I'm going to stop the video here, and then the next time you see me or hear me, it will be at a later point in the video when I've already done each one of these. So, magic of editing. See you shortly.